And hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of My Isolation Podcast. And today we're talking about the number one box office hit of 2023, The Flash. And I am taking the piss because that movie is done really fucking badly, in terms of box office anyway. It's not been doing very well at the box office. I actually was I was actually worried that Warner Bros might pull the movie from theaters the same way that Disney pulled X-Men Dark Phoenix from theaters when that came out back in 2019. That doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, but you never know. You never know with these things. And today I'm talking about The Flash, and then after that I will be doing the episode on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I think me and Alex are seeing it tomorrow, not together, but we'll be seeing it at separate times. And then hopefully that one will be up by Wednesday. That's the aim anyway. That's the dream. That's the dream. That's the main goal. We're talking about The Flash today. And yes, let's start off with first of all, I want to talk about a couple of pieces of media that I've watched during the month that I do recommend people go see. Obviously, last month was Pride Month, for this one, I'm going to be recommending the film Love, Simon. I watched it for the first time a few weeks ago. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice, fun little kind of story. I liked how it was, a kind of high school kind of story, high school romance kind of thing, but with a more, LGBTQ plus kind of theme to it. And the other one is The Show It's a Sin. This was my second time watching it because I watched it first when it came out back in 2021 on Channel 4. And I loved it when I watched it the first time. I still love it now. I think it's a great show and a great, kind of important kind of piece of media. Talking about the AIDS crisis and everything. It's very, very emotional and very impactful. I'm so glad Rusty Davis is going to be returning as Doctor Who showrunner because this kind of drama I've missed that from Doctor Who quite recently. But I'll go more into that come the 60th anniversary when I do those series of 60th anniversary episodes that I've promised. The Road to the 60th, as they'll probably be called. But yeah, those are the pieces of media that I've seen that are not The Flash that I recommend. But now let's start properly talking about The Flash. Before that, let's go off into the production as well as DCEU as a whole. So the DCEU, in my opinion, has been one of the biggest disasters in terms of any cinematic universe. It's one of the few cinematic universes that was able to last beyond one movie. But in terms of saying on its way to try and compete with the MCU, it's been a complete disaster from start to finish. It never found its audience. The audience never really caught on to it. And as we've seen with these past couple of DC movies, they've not been doing very well. Black Adam didn't do very well. Shazam 2 didn't do very well. This movie is not doing very well. Even Wonder Woman 1984, that didn't do the best. But even before the pandemic, you had Birds of Prey, which did not do very well. So DC's been in the rut for a while. DCEU, again, I think a lot of it's just come from the fact that there's been no plan for the DCEU. They've sort of just been making it up as they go along. Jumping on, trying, and which has led to some cool experimentations, like James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, but a lot of it's just been bad. I mean, I liked it when it first started, like 10 years ago. Like, fuck, Man of Steel was 10 years ago. Oh my god. I was about to start university when Man of Steel came out. Fuck me. So Man of Steel, I liked that movie a lot. There were some things about it that I found a bit irritating, like all the Jesus symbolisms or metaphors or whatever you want to call them. That got a bit annoying at times. I do think the movie ran on a little too long. I thought you could have shaved off, maybe like 20 or 20 minutes at least. And the third act was, it does lose me a little bit in the third act, because it's a bit like, we finished the final battle and then Superman's got one more battle with Zod and it's like, really, can we just wrap this up, please? But apart from that, though, I still enjoy Man of Steel. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. It's really sad that he didn't get his time to shine as Superman, really, outside of, the few films he was in. But, he did okay as Superman. After that was Batman vs. Superman, which I hated. hated that movie, did not like it, didn't make any sense, and was just a terrible film. I've not seen the extended edition. Maybe that one's better, but the theatrical cut, the one I saw in theaters, was I just remember not liking at all. The Martha scene is just God, Jesus, don't even. Let's not remind ourselves of the Martha scene, shall we? Then there was Suicide Squad, the David Ayer one. I hated that one as well. I didn't even watch that in theaters. I watched it on Now TV when it came out on that. I think it's just a terrible film. It's badly put together, and you can tell that there was, drama behind the scenes because the way it's edited and everything. And I thought Jared Leto as a Joker was just horrendous. The worst live action, the worst Joker, period. Compared to the other live action Jokers or even the animated Jokers, just the worst one, the worst one. And I'm glad that version of the Joker is pretty much long gone. Thank God. After that, it was Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman. I actually really liked that one. I thought it was really good. I thought Patty Jenkins did a really good job with that. Justice League, I didn't like. I thought it was very sloppy and badly put together. But then again, it felt like half a movie, because it pretty much was half a movie, because the whole thing was reshot in 2 to 3 weeks, I want to say. I haven't seen the Snyder Cut. I've not really had the urge to go out and to my local HMV and buy a copy. But I might do it at some point. See how the two contrast together and see how that works. After that, and the rest, after that, there was I want to say Aquaman came out. I didn't see that one. I've still not seen that one. I watched Shazam. That was pretty good. I really liked Shazam. And I'm trying to think, is there any other DCEU movie I've seen in the theatre? I didn't see Birds of Prey when that came out. I didn't see Wonder Woman 1984 when that came out. I've watched The Suicide Squad, the James Gunn one. That's the last DCU film that I remember seeing. And I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was that was better. That was much more engaging, much more well put together than the first one. I think James Gunn got along well with WB a lot more better than David Ayer did, at least in terms of making Suicide Squad anyway. And I think, I don't know, maybe WB was at that point were thinking to themselves, we can trust him. He did very well with Guardians of the Galaxy. And the rest of them I'm not seeing. Black Adam, I didn't bother with that one. I just did not care. Shazam 2, I didn't bother seeing because, to be perfectly honest, I saw the reviews for it and I just thought, nah, just nah. I was just not feeling it. Obviously, I saw this one, The Flash, and the other two, Aquaman and Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle I might check out because I'm a fan of the actor playing Blue Beetle. I've watched him in Cobra Kai and I'm a big fan of his work. So I might check that one out, just see what it's like. Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, the DCEU has gotten so bad to the point where the whole thing's being fucking rebooted now. We're getting the new DCU from James Gunn and Peter Safran. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be well more put together than the DCEU, because the DCEU's had a lot of problems. And again, it never got off the ground and never really found its footing. Like with this movie, The Flash, for example, this film's been in development since 2013, 2014 maybe, and it just went through directors and writers and people just dropping out left, right and centre and no one really knowing what the hell is going on. Delay, and then obviously COVID happened and the thing got delayed it's been delayed multiple fucking times for reasons beyond writers and directors dropping out, not being its release date. I think Ezra Miller, their contract expired at one point and they had to sign a new one, if I remember correctly, and just full of problems and issues. I remember there was a rumor going around that Robert Zemeckis was in talks to direct it, but that would have been pretty cool. But that obviously didn't happen. And yeah, just a lot of delays and dramas. And then COVID came in, and then the movie eventually finally started filming. And we finally got some more news, about all the cameos that were going to happen. Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, and Michael Keaton was going to be the new Batman, and that, of course, is not happening anymore. And Batgirl got cancelled, and this whole thing is just a mess. It's just a mess, and there's literally no one. There's a big surprise why DC is resetting, and why this film is supposed to be considered the reset of the DC universe, even though we've got Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom coming out. But who knows? It's all confusing, and it's just I just want this whole thing to go over so we can start again with Superman Legacy and carry on from there. And obviously, you got to talk about the elephant in the room, the Ezra Miller situation. For those of you who don't know, Ezra Miller, they got themselves into a bit of a sticky situation with the law. Particularly, it started off with in 2020 when they were caught on camera choking somebody, choking a woman and grabbing a woman and throwing them to the floor. And then last year, 2022, it was just full to the brim of stories and accusations where they're throwing chairs at people in bars, they're breaking into people's houses and stealing passports, and just weird, not very good behavior. And it's sad to see this. It's sad to see them. Sad to see them. Throw their career pretty much away like that, because Ezra Miller. They're a very good actor. They're a pretty decent actor, and they're very good in this movie. Ezra Miller does a fine job in this movie. Maybe they can be redeemed, if they work on themselves and work on getting better, and hopefully they can have some sort of redemption, kind of similar to how Robert Downey Jr. had when he went through his dark path and he rose back up and started Iron Man, and his life's much better now. But time will tell. But yeah, so that caused the movie to be delayed multiple times, and causing major complications, like how they weren't going to have a regular, typical press tour, which I'm guessing is probably one of the main reasons why this movie's not doing very well at the box office. But I still wanted to go see it because I was still interested in it, and considering again, and yeah, so I went to go see it last week, and overall, honestly, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was fine for what it was. I thought it was a fun enough blockbuster with enough comedy and cameos that I think would please the general audience, or at least the ones that are actually going to see this movie. So to start off, Ezra Miller, I thought they were very good as the Flash and Barry Allen. I liked how this modern day Barry Allen is a lot more mature and a lot. They're a lot. Barry Allen, he is a lot more mature in this movie. Barry is. He's a lot more likable in this than he was in Justice League. In Justice League, he was just a little bit annoying. But in this one, at least the present day him, the more grown up him is more more mature, a bit more of an adult, and that I really enjoyed. But I also liked the younger Barry. Obviously, younger Barry is very annoying, but he's supposed to be. He's like an 18-year-old college student. He's supposed to be irritating. He's supposed to be annoying. He's not supposed to, have everything put together, because who does when they're 18. I like the contrast between the two versions. I think Ezra, they did a good job contrasting the two versions, and how modern Barry was starting to get irritated and annoyed with younger Barry, and how modern Barry was starting to see some of his flaws in younger Barry. I thought that was really good. And it was just very cool. It was also very cool. It was also a very unique way of showing Barry's origin story, because obviously we didn't actually see Barry's origin story. In Justice League, he was already established as the Flash, and so in this one, we actually go back, we actually see it, but it's done in a more unique way. We see younger Barry get the powers, but older Barry loses the powers. There's like major spoilers in this, by the way. So yeah, if you've not seen this movie yet, get the fuck out and go see it, and then come back and listen to this. I really should get better at doing those at the beginning, but who knows? And yeah, so I really liked Ezra Miller. I thought their performance as Barry and the Flash were really good and very compelling, and the two dynamics were really good. I love the stuff with his parents as well, like the stuff with Barry's dad. Was very powerful, a lot more better and a lot more powerful than it was in Justice League, or the theatrical cut of Justice League anyway. And I think the fact that we got more into the inside of what happened, or because obviously Barry's mum gets killed, and then Barry's dad is not really there. They think the police believe it's him. They've locked him up, and Ezra's and the Flash is trying to prove his innocence. And I liked how in this one. His dad was just saying, look, it was a long shot, but don't don't like, move on with your life, basically. But Barry doesn't want to do that. Barry wants his dad to be free. And you really got that contrast, especially when Barry's actually is reunited with his mother. When he goes back in time and he changes it, you really get that impact that because he's lost his mother when he was 7 or 8. So he's lost a ton of he's just lost so many years with her, and he's just grateful to have her there, and it created quite a lot of good and good powerful emotional moments that a lot of these DC movies haven't really had. I think Man of Steel had quite a few. I can't remember many from BVS or Suicide Squad or any of that stuff, but yeah, they create a lot of good, powerful emotional moments that I'll get into later on. But overall, Ezra Miller, I thought they were good as the Flash, and they did a really good job in this movie. And I like the way that they showed the origin story happening in a way where we're seeing where older Barry is trying to instruct younger Barry on what to do to get his powers. I thought that was a really cool and unique way to show the origin story. Michael Keaton as Batman. I mean, it's Michael Keaton as Batman. Like, it was good to see him again. It was crazy seeing. Well, obviously Michael Keaton's in his 80s. He didn't really, he wasn't really kicking ass. That was probably his stunt doubles. But even so, man, it was so good to see him back as Batman. Michael Keaton was such a good Batman, and seeing him back in the rubber suit. I like the little inside jokes where he's using all of his really old gadgets to try and figure out what to do and trying to figure out how to solve a problem. Particularly the tape measure joke that they did with the lift. I thought that was really funny, and I just liked seeing him. I liked his Batman, how his Batman's retired and he's old and he doesn't think he has it in him anymore, and then he comes out of retirement to join Barry for one last go around. Which is good to see. It sucks how, because obviously originally the original plan was that Michael Keaton was going to replace Ben Affleck as the main Batman, and that's why they had the Batgirl movie that ended up getting cancelled. And I think at the end of this one, it was going to tease some sort of the Crisis on Infinite Earths film that they were thinking of doing that is now no longer in the case. And that's all been canned, basically. But again, Michael Keaton was really good as Batman. It was good seeing him again. All the little references, to him, like the I'm Batman, and you want to get nuts line. That was pretty cool. It sucks we didn't see the Batmobile though. We didn't see him drive the Batmobile at all. We saw him in the Batwing, but not the Batmobile, which sucks because I really like that Batmobile. It just has a very it's a very weird, it's very Tim Burton-y esque kind of vehicle that I really enjoyed seeing in the Tim Burton movies. And yeah, but yeah, again, seeing him back again was great. It sucks that he's not coming back anymore, and he's not going to have the big role that we thought he was going to have. Apparently, originally, they were considering a Batman Beyond film where he was going to train a young Terry McGinnis because obviously if you know what Batman Beyond is, it's set in the future, and Terry McGinnis takes over and Bruce kind of trains him. I think people have wanted that idea for years, and apparently we were going to get it, but because of this movie's box office, it's no longer happening, as well as most likely because of the whole DCEU reset. Sasha, I'm going to hopefully pronounce this right, Sasha Kyle. If I butchered that, then I really do apologize. But she was Supergirl, and she was great. She was very compelling and very interesting. I really enjoyed her action sequences when she was fighting Zod. I thought that was really cool. I liked the costume and the outfit. My only really gripe is that we didn't really get much of her, which sucks because Sasha did such a good job in this role. If you watch I think they did a video where the director Andy Muschietti actually revealed to her that she got the part, and you see the video of that. She's very, very happy. She looks very happy and very excited and very like she's ready for gearing up, and she's ready to go. And it sucks because originally she was meant to have a big role in the DC universe, DCEU after this movie. Because at the very end, at the courthouse, there was the original ending was that Michael Keaton was going to be there, she was going to be there, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman was going to be there, Henry Cavill's Superman was going to be there, and it was going to establish this new universe, and she was going to be the Supergirl of that universe, and was probably going to get her own movie at some point. But of course that's no longer happening. But I hope she's not gone forever. Apparently she's had conversations with them about coming back, so hopefully, and there is a Supergirl movie in development for the DCU, but so maybe they can bring her back. I feel like most people would probably, this movie's not really doing very well anyway, so I don't think audiences would be too confused if you brought her back. And I really hope she's not gone forever, because I really liked her Supergirl. I thought that was a really cool kind of unique take on that character. Particularly when we've had two that have been the more kind of upbeat, lighthearted, goofy kind of types that from the original Supergirl movie and the CW TV show. It was cool to have one that was a little bit more grounded, a little bit more serious, a little bit more alien as well. I just hope she comes. I hope we get to see her again as Supergirl. Seeing Zod and his crew again was pretty cool and quite fascinating as well to see it from a different angle. Michael Shannon was good as Zod as always. He really, again, he hasn't really missed it. But then again, his Zod is not. I wouldn't say his version of Zod's that compelling. I wouldn't say his version of Zod is that compelling. But it was good to see him again. It was good to see his crew from Man of Steel again as well. And again, seeing that fight take place in a new kind of from a new point of view and a new kind of angle was very cool and very unique in a weird way. I thought that was really cool. And but I think the other thing as well is that seeing all of the DCEU characters that we've seen over the years, except Henry Cavill's Superman, we see the back of him. We don't see his face. So it's basically like the post-credit scene to Shazam. We don't see his face. We see him though. We see his body. We don't see his face. But we see Batman and Wonder Woman and Alfred. And honestly, seeing all those cameos was really cool and really good. It was good to see him get one more go at these roles before they all retire and move on with their lives. But it was also really cool seeing Batman. It was pretty cool seeing Batman in the daylight as well. In the grey, in the blue and grey cowl as well. It was good seeing Alfred again. Jerry Irons was a really great Alfred. Probably kind of hopes to bring him back for this Brave and the Bold movie they're doing, but I highly doubt it. It'll probably be a brand new Alfred, no doubt. It'd be crazy if it was Andy Serkis again. Like that'd be insane. That would be insane. But it was good seeing this again. I really liked the Lasso of Truth joke, even though they did that in Justice League, but I mean Justice League was a terrible movie anyway. So yeah. And to be fair, this one was a little bit more funny. It was a lot more funny in this one, especially when Batman starts, pretty much going like, in the background, when Batman's mumbling to himself, why am I fighting crime to save the sea when I could, I'm a billionaire, I've got millions, I could actually use my resources to, like, that kind of joke where I really like that sort of joke, especially when you consider the fact that the robber that they've caught, I can't remember that guy's name, the criminal that's that they ended up catching in that scene. He starts like babbling the truth as well. And then obviously you've got Barry making the virgin joke, which was really funny. But it was good seeing those again. And Ben Affleck's really good. And I really like that little moment, that last moment of him in the Flash when you see him. When Barry's like, oh, we could get pizza, we could hang out, and that his last line is another time. And I really liked how Michael Keaton, when his Batman died, he mirrored that line as well. I thought that was a really cool moment. But it was really good seeing all those guys again, and it does suck that they're not going to come back in this. They're not going to come back. I feel like the only one that could have possibility of coming back really is Jason Momoa's Aquaman. He's probably the only one from the DCEU that's most like that could come back. The rest of them, Henry Cavill's not coming back. He's already said. Ben Affleck ain't coming back because he doesn't want to. Gal Gadot, I don't think is coming back. Ezra Miller is definitely not coming back. In fact, I'm pretty certain Ezra Miller is probably never going to work in Hollywood again. They're never going to work in Hollywood again after this. So Jason Momoa's Aquaman is the only one who's probably going to end up the one who's most likely to come back. But I wouldn't be surprised if they recast Aquaman as well. Seeing all those characters again was cool, and it really sucks out because I feel like with that scene in particular, I feel like it felt like the DCU was finally starting to take shape. I feel like this was that small scene in the Flash. That's sort of how the DCU should have been the entire time, and it sucks how it felt like it was finally starting to it felt like that what the DCEU should have been from day one, and instead it went the route it went, and it's now burnt to the fucking ground. Which is just which is just the worst, really. My hay fever is playing up as well, so if I sound stuffed up, I do apologise. And it's sad to see everyone go. It really is sad to see everyone go, especially because of the fact that, again, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years since this DCEU started, and it's just, it's only, I feel like in that scene, it felt like it was starting to find its footing, but, I mean, the MCU, when the MCU turned 10, it was releasing Endgame, and then now the DCEU turns 10 years old, and yeah, and it's now being rebooted. It sucks, but it is what it is. Let's go into the multiverse stuff. Seeing all the multiverse stuff was cool. The cameos I'll get into later on, actually, but I mean, like, the effects, like, when Barry starts running really fast, and then he goes into, like, this ball, this kind of spear, and that's how you see time flow. It looked really cool. I mean, the CG wasn't great, but which I'll get into a little bit, but it looked really cool. And, like, yeah, and even the other multiverse stuff, like the D-Cup references, like the Aero Stoltz Back to the Future reference, for example. I thought that was really funny. So the other little ones as well. And also as well as that weird, that awesome, like, flashback they had where it turns out Flash was in, Metropolis when Zod came and he was going to help Superman in the fight, but he wasn't able to because he first got his that was when he first got his powers. And it was a really good job tying it all in. It was a good attempt to try and tie it all in together. And it did make a lot of sense as well, I feel like, because obviously, that was in 2013. Barry would have been 18, so Barry's pretty much the same age as me in this movie, I think. And if this film actually does take place in 2023. But yeah, I like the little effect, and yeah, and that flashback scene was cool. All the multiverse stuff was really cool. But unfortunately, it's sort of let down by the terrible CGI. The CGI in this just looked bad. I understand what they were going for. Like, Andy Muschietti said, it was supposed to look weird, and I believe that. I believe that, that it was supposed to look weird, and that was the style they were going for. But the way it looked, it just didn't look really good. That's the thing. I mean, I get, it's a different style, but couldn't you make it look a little bit better? Because, a lot of it looked like really bad CG. This looked like CG from, like, 2002. A lot of this movie did. Like, you go from, like, the babies and the action sequences. Oh my god, the babies in the opening action sequence with the hospital. That looked like a PS2 cutscene. A really bad PS2 cutscene. It just looked fake. I mean, obviously CG looks fake, I get that, but, like, again, that's what I've been saying, I feel like we need to put a bit more of a focus on practical effects again, because I feel like we've got so much CG now that it doesn't look real. And I think practical effects actually do look real because, they're practical. I know that you wouldn't be able to do this movie completely practical. You would definitely need CG, especially if it's a Flash movie, but I feel like movies in general need to go back to using practical effects, and maybe cut down the CGI a little bit. And who knows, maybe this new DCU will cut down on the CG and maybe focus a bit more on practical effects. Who knows? But yeah, the CG looked really bad and looked really fake. I mean, I've seen CW episodes of, like, Arrow and Supergirl that have had better CG than this. Even the Flash TV show had better CG than this movie, which is bizarre because of the fact that's a CW show. That should not even be, comparable to a $1 billion, like, picture. But I mean, this is welcome to 2023, people. Welcome to 2023. So yeah, the CG didn't look great. I mean, I understand it's a different style they're going for. I get that, and it's supposed to look weird. But I've seen plenty of movies that have had weird, crazy, kind of trippy CG kind of CG sequences that have looked a lot more better than the CG in this. Sorry to say. The music in this, though, was really good, really solid. I really enjoyed the music, particularly hearing the Danny Elfman Batman theme again. The that one. It was cool to hear it properly this time, unlike in Justice League, where you just heard it a little bit and it's just a bit like, I want to hear the whole thing now. Let's play the whole thing. It was good hearing that again. Music, yeah, but yeah, the music, I've got no complaints about the music. It's proper good, and I think, and particularly the pops. Was there a pop song that played during when young Barry first got the powers and he started running, and when his clothes set on fire and it caused a disturbance in the city. I can't remember. I liked. I don't think it was "Don't Stop Me Now." I don't want to. Maybe it was. I don't know. But I'm pretty certain there was some sort of pop song that played. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of pop song that played during that sequence. But who knows? Maybe I've got it wrong. The comedy was good enough. There were some jokes in there that made me go a bit. But the rest of it was really funny. Again, the dynamic between young Barry and older Barry and younger Barry was really funny. At a lot of different points. Again, because younger Barry's younger, he's supposed to be irritating, he's supposed to be annoying. It was quite funny to see older Barry just be like, okay, I get why people find me irritating now. And jokes with Batman and the lasso of truth joke again was really funny. And it was fine. It was, the chemistry between two Barrys was good. And all three Bruces, George Clooney, Michael Keaton, and Ben Affleck, they all got really good comedic moments as well, like the lasso of truth scene, and particularly during Michael Keaton's scene where he's with the tape measure and when he's talking about the multiverse and he's using spaghetti as a metaphor, and then they bring that joke back at the very end. I thought that was really cute and really funny. And obviously George Clooney when Barry sees him for the first time, and George Clooney's just like, what's wrong? What the hell's wrong with you? Like, that was really funny. And again, like I said before, the little deep cut references, like the Eric Stoltz Back to the Future thing, that was really cool and really funny. And all of the other deep cut references, which I can't really remember right now, but it really helped bring this kind of alternate reality to life, where there were so many little changes that were made. What Barry did, it changed so much. From his main timeline, and the little deep cut references that helped add to that quite a bit. So apart from this, let's go to the action sequences. So apart from the wonky CGI, I think the action sequences were quite good. A lot of stuff with Michael Keaton's Batman was really good. The opening action sequence, again, while the CG wasn't great, it was still quite entertaining. It was cool seeing how Barry would use his speed to save people, but not in the traditional kind of way you'd think, because obviously he establishes that if he went at full force, it would probably kill somebody. Hence why early in the movie, younger Barry tries it and older Barry ends up throwing up, because obviously it went really fast. So he has to nudge people, or slightly place things out of the way and nudge people to try and get them out of the way, so they don't. So when he slows down and time catches up, they're all safe. But I thought the opening sequence was great. The rest screen super sequence was also great. Again, it was so good to see Michael Keaton's Batman, back to kicking ass again, like the good old days. Particularly afterwards, where he was stitching himself up and he got that look on his face where he's like, yeah, I've missed this. That was a cool moment. The final fight with Zod, the fight with Zod and the Kryptonians was really funny. It was really awesome and cool to see. It was good to see Batman fighting them. It was really weird seeing Michael Keaton's Batman in daylight, because obviously he's all dressed in leather black. But it was still, it was I wouldn't say it was bad. It was just very new seeing that, because his Batman was always used to going out at night, and seeing it in the day was quite refreshing. Quite not refreshing, but pretty interesting to see. And obviously, the fight with the Kryptonians, Supergirl, that was really cool. And it was cool seeing, because obviously the final fight with the two Barrys, when they're arguing over, because younger Barry doesn't want his mum to die, older Barry kind of has to come to terms with the fact that has to happen. And there's that big action sequence with them and Dark Flash. That final fight was really cool. Again, the CG looked really bad, but overall it was still, but it didn't take away from the action sequences. I still found that, even though the CG was not very good, I found the action sequences pretty entertaining still, and pretty engaging as well. I was still kind of on the edge of my seat watching them, in suspense. And again, I like the limitations they had with Barry's powers. I thought that was really cool, and it added some cool kind of ways where he has to kind of very quickly use his brain to figure out okay, how can I save these people without killing them? I thought that was quite unique and kind of a new way, because obviously with these movies like the Sonic movies and even X-Men, Days of Future Past and Apocalypse with Quicksilver, they would just grab the person and run with them and take them to the safe place, and that's it. But with this one, they were like, let's be a little bit more creative with it and have it where Barry can't do that, and he has to kind of come up with alternative ways to like nudging people out of the way and stuff like that. But actually, the action sequences again, I thought they were really good. They didn't the bad CG didn't ruin them for me. And yeah, I thought, and overall they were pretty fun. It was really they were just fun. They were just fun. They were enjoyable, and they had their jokey moments as well. It was just an enjoyable. They were enjoyable action sequences for what they were. But let's talk about the more kind of emotional, powerful moments in there. So the scenes, like I said, with Barry's mother were really good, and the scenes with his dad were really good. And because you really felt like modern day Barry didn't have his mother, and he lost his dad pretty early on in his life as well because his dad was in prison. You really felt that he didn't have a lot growing up. He did have them in the first few years of his life, and then just one failed day, it just all got taken away from him. And so when he's reunited with them, he's you can tell like he's soaking up every moment with them. He's just enjoying it for what it is. He's trying to find the best of a situation of this. He's just enjoying it because he's wanted them back in his life for so long, and he wants to change them. He wants to change the timeline, and even though he's warned about not doing so, he just wants to do it because he wants his parents back, and he doesn't want his dad in prison anymore. And I thought those moments were really good, particularly the final moment as well, which we'll talk about later on. But the final moment with his mother was just really powerful stuff. And Ezra, they do such a good job at conveying the emotion and the pain and the gratitude that Barry has. And it just sucks that Ezra, the fact that Ezra once again, they've thrown their career away. I do hope that they somehow get rehabilitated, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on it. I think the best one though, the best kind of emotional moment for me, well, the best two for me were probably when Michael Keaton's Batman says "some other time" when he's dying. That to me was really good because obviously it connected the two Batmans together. And it was just it kind of brought that kind of sentiment like back around. And it did make it a little bit more disheartening when that version of Batman, the Ben Affleck one, didn't come back at the end. But I feel it was a good moment as well. I liked also the emotional moment when younger Barry keeps going back in time to try and change the outcome, and Superman and Supergirl and Michael Keaton's Batman just keep dying over and over and over again. And you see modern day Barry who's just in the sphere. And he's just looking at it all happening, and kind of he's coming to terms with the fact that he's realizing that this can't, they can't save it. This universe dies today, and he has to go back and he has to undo what he did. But the number one best emotional moment for me would be pretty much the scene where younger Barry's gotten on older Barry's nerves so much, and he takes his mother for granted so much that older Barry just goes off on one with younger Barry. And he just starts yelling at younger Barry over and over again. He says, you have everything, you take everything for granted, you use a monkey for a dartboard, and you just get that feeling that that Flash, wants to save this universe because as he says to Michael Keaton's Batman, this is the one where his mum lives, and he just doesn't want him to go, and he's so happy to have his mum back that when he sees older Barry taking it for granted, he's like, you because it kind of feels for all of us, as we get older and our parents get older, we have this kind of realization that they ain't gonna be around forever. When you're 18 years old, you know of it, but you don't really think about that, and it's not until you get older, well, as old as me, like I'm at my late 20s, and and it really doesn't get into when you get to a lot more older. That's when you kind of realize that they're really not going to be around forever. And Barry already, obviously Barry kind of already knows that because he lost his parents at a very young age. So you feel like his pain, his suffering, and kind of the more deep connection that he has. And yeah, I thought that scene was probably the best powerful and emotional moment in the entire movie. I mean, there's quite a lot as well. Like the ending, for example, is quite powerful and emotional. But in terms of which moment I thought was the best one, that was probably the best one for me. Again, the final fight. Going back to the final fight, I thought overall was really good, very impactful, and it was showing how like a single change can alter, anything really. How Superman is dead. They found him as a baby, and turns out that that Supergirl has the codex that Kal-El had in the first movie, and you see like when she finds out that they've killed him, she just goes berserk, and you really feel that impactful moment as well. And the fact that again her and Bruce keep getting killed over and over and over again, it just shows that no matter what you do and how much you want to change it, there are just some things that you can't change. That some things have to play out the way they are, yeah, some things just play out the way they are, and I just think that's pretty cool. That not cool, but it's a unique kind of lesson for for them to put in a superhero movie and for somebody else to learn. And it's something that Barry, again, he has to come to terms with it and he has to change it. But younger Barry doesn't want to. Younger Barry wants to keeps going and going because obviously he's immature, he's 18, he doesn't understand the gravity of his powers yet, and that's when the villain Dark Flash comes in. Dark Flash was he even a villain in this? I mean, he was barely in this for like. It was the concept's cool, I guess, but when you have great villains like Reverse Flash, for example, which I think would have been a really cool villain to have, but then whatever Dark Flash is, it was a cool concept, but he's barely in the movie and he doesn't make much of an impact. He has a couple of creepy moments, but the idea is cool, but it's just not executed well. I feel like he should have been in the movie a lot more and a lot longer. Or they could have just said fuck it and have Reverse Flash instead. I think Reverse Flash would have been a better villain for this, particularly with the story that they're going with in this movie anyway. And yeah, so Reverse Flash wasn't a great villain. I also feel like he should have been played by who played Flash in that the actor that played Flash in that really old TV show. I feel like he should have been played by that actor. I thought that would have been a really cool kind of cameo where he comes in and he plays the old, dark, evil Flash. I feel like that would have been really cool to see. I don't even. Well, maybe that actor's not alive anymore. I have no idea. But I know he was in Crisis on Infinite Earths, the TV show that he did. So it would have been cool to see him as the dark Flash. But I mean, and this movie's all about cameos and stuff like that and multiverses, so that would have fit in well. But I guess they wanted Ezra Miller in old people makeup, which is fine, I guess. But overall, the villain Dark Flash was just weak, very weak villain. Honestly, the weakest superhero villain I've seen since Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man 1. Lizard was a really weak villain, but at least Lizard was actually in the movie. Dark Flash was barely in the film, barely in this movie. So yeah, that was not the best. In terms of the other cameos in this movie, let's go into the other cameos in this. So again, there's been a few kind of not backlash, but there've been people talking about the ethics of having some of these cameos. Like obviously we've got George Reeves, Christopher Reeves, and the actress that played Supergirl. They all come back to reprise. Well, they're brought back with CG, and Adam West as well. He's brought back with CG. I would say as long as they've got permission from their estates and their families to do it, then I think that it's fine. It didn't make me feel icky or anything. If anything, I thought it was really cool seeing them again. It was cool seeing George Reeves again. Cool seeing Adam West again and seeing that universe. It was really cool seeing Chris Reeves. I had a feeling they were going to bring Chris Reeves into this movie. I remember someone was doing a review and they said, there's one cameo that they try and make really meaningful and impactful. And I was like, it's going to be Chris Reeves as Superman again, isn't it? And well, lo and behold, it was. And they brought back the Supergirl, because obviously they were supposed to I think he was supposed to be in the Supergirl movie. He was supposed to have a cameo, but he wasn't. He turned it down, probably because he read the script and saw it sucked, because it did. Because that Supergirl movie did suck, unfortunately. But the best one, and I think this is not going to come as a big surprise, the best cameo is the Nicolas Cage Superman from the scrapped Superman Lives. It was just really cool finally seeing that utilized on screen. I kind of wish he played a bit more into the plot, like maybe he actually came down and helped Barry out or something like that. But it was just cool seeing him again. I don't know why they like CG'd him or de-aged him. I thought they would have been just better off having him just, a wig and stuff like that. I don't think the de-aging was really necessary. But again, it was really cool seeing him in Superman. It was cool seeing that Superman Lives suit. For people who don't know, for the two people that don't know, originally back in the 90s there was going to be a movie called Superman Lives. Tim Burton was supposed to direct it. Nicolas Cage was going to be in it as Superman, but it got cancelled just weeks before filming was supposed to start due to creative differences. And it really sucks. There's a whole documentary by John Schnepp, who passed away a few years ago. He did a documentary on the whole film, and it's a really good documentary. I recommend you go watch it. I think John Schnepp would have been very proud of seeing Nicolas Cage as Superman in this movie, and I really liked how he appears in the third act, and he's fighting a giant spider. If you've watched, because obviously, again, during the whole movie, Kevin Smith was supposed to write a script for it, and John Peters was the producer, and John Peters said to him, "I want to be fighting a giant spider in the third act." And I'm just glad, and that made me so happy that he was fighting a giant spider and it was in the third act. I thought that was really cute and a really nice little nod to that. It did feel like a bit of a celebration of live action DC, though I don't know why Grant Gustin's Barry Allen from the Flash TV show wasn't in this, considering he's, that show was a big success, a bigger success than this movie. That's for sure. And who knows why Grant Gustin wasn't in this. I think there was a rumor that he filmed a cameo, but they cut it for time. But that's just a rumor. Unless we see a deleted scene of that, then I'm gonna take it out with a grain of salt. But yeah, the cameos and stuff that were great. Again, I'm glad it wasn't. It didn't feel like Cameo City. They only had a few of them, which is great. And they did. It was difficult. It did feel meaningful for me because I've seen a lot of DC, but I've never seen every DC movie under the sun. But I've seen a lot of them. Like I've watched the Chris Reeve Superman movies, and it was good seeing all these kind of like nods and references to DC's past, and it felt very fitting. It strangely felt fitting for this movie, considering that this movie is set to the reset of the DCEU. How we're going to see it continue in a new iteration after Aquaman: Lost Kingdom comes out, because the DCU is born, and hopefully it'll be a lot more better than DCEU. Fingers crossed. So let's go on to the ending. The ending scene with Barry and his mum was, again, really heartfelt and really meaningful and impactful. Having him give in to the fact that he has to go back, he has to change it, he has to get rid of he has to change the outcome and have his mum die in order to fix everything. And he really like that scene where he comes to the supermarket, and he's standing to in the supermarket. And then he slows down time, one last moment, and then he kind of rests his face on his mum's hand, and he says goodbye to her one last time. And that was a very emotional scene. That was really a very powerful scene. And again, it showed the impact that this had on Barry and his childhood and his life. It just shows that sometimes there's things in life that we can't change. There's just things in life that we want but we can't have, and he just wants his mother back and he can't have it. And Ezra does such a good job in that scene. It's really emotional and really deep as well. Very deep, really deep as well, to be fair. And then obviously he gets back to the courthouse and his dad, because obviously earlier on he's got the security footage in the room, because Bruce sends it over to him. But his dad doesn't look up. He needs his dad to look up so they can see his face, and it can clear him innocent and support his alibi. And obviously in the ending, Barry actually puts a can of tomatoes on. He changes the positioning so that his dad looks up, which that part I didn't really like, because obviously the whole movie Barry has to learn that one change, even one little thing, can make a really big difference when you're playing with time. It can make a really big difference when you're playing with time, and to have him then go, oh, I'm gonna move these cans so my dad can look up. It's just a bit, I don't know. I feel like maybe if you had it where it cuts to him about where he's thinking of, where maybe there's a part of the movie where he's thinking of doing it, and then they cut to the courthouse scene, but his dad doesn't look up, so it turns out he doesn't do it. I feel like that would have been a bit more impactful, because again, that would have played into the kind of theme where we want what we can't have, and he wants his dad free, but he knows that if he makes that change, the universe changes, and he can't do it. But this movie, he does do it, and it was just a bit. Okay, I mean, it was a nice moment to have his dad be free and everything, but it was just one of those things where it kind of goes against the messaging of the movie a little bit, in my opinion. And it does have an effect on it, because in this universe, George Clooney shows up, and it's not instead of Ben Affleck, which I thought was really funny. It was spoiled for me weeks before I saw the movie, which really pissed me off actually. But yeah, it was still good to see George Clooney back and see him get some love, because Batman and Robin was not a good movie. Batman and Robin was a terrible film, a really bad film actually. Well, it was the movie that almost killed superhero movies for good. But it was good to see him back. It was a funny joke as well, and Barry's tooth ends up falling out, and again, it was really funny and really charming, and I think that kind of. That kind of illustrates to the audience that Ezra's not coming back, this universe is not coming back, and that this is it. This is the end of the DCEU. It's not the DCEU anymore. And yeah, but it was still a funny cameo at the end. And yeah, end credits scene was shit. I didn't even stay for the end credits scene. I watched it on YouTube, but it was terrible. Just Flash and Aquaman drunk, and just, I don't know. It was trying to be funny, but it was just bad. It was just bad. And yeah, and overall, that's pretty much it for The Flash. Overall, it was a fun time. It was a decent movie. It wasn't great. It wasn't the finale that the DCEU deserved. But overall, in terms of, how the DCEU ending on a high note, this is probably the highest note we can end on. Because we still got Aquaman 2 coming out, which kind of confuses me really, because if this is the end, then what's Aquaman 2? But who knows? I don't even know if I'm going to go see Aquaman 2. I haven't seen the first one, so I don't even know if I'm going to see that one. But yeah, and yeah, so that's pretty much it for The Flash. Again, it's not really much I can really say. It's just a fun time in the cinema. It's just an enjoyable summer blockbuster. The characters are good. The cameos are great. Ezra's great, and it's good to see. It was good to finally see a Flash movie made. Because one's been developed even before DCEU was even like a thing. They were trying to do a Flash movie, get a Flash film off the ground for years. So it was just good to finally see a Flash movie. I really hope this doesn't make Warner Brothers or DC, not give Flash another movie. And treat him the same way they treated the Green Lantern. Like, he had the Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds, and then after that, Green Lantern just never really came back. There was an attempt to make a couple of TV shows, which never really saw the light of day. I think there's another TV show in the works. I really hope that doesn't happen to The Flash, where they kind of go, he didn't work for the cinema, so we're just going to keep him on television. I feel like, give Flash another chance. I mean, obviously, don't bring back Ezra Miller. Don't bring them back. Bring the Flash back to the big screen. Give Flash another try. Because honestly, this movie was really, it was just a fun summer blockbuster. It was really quite inventive with its action sequences, and yeah, and that was pretty much it. That's pretty much The Flash. And DCU is now officially over, and hopefully the DCU will be good again after I'm recording this on the 2nd, so obviously the new Superman casting has been announced. I'm just going to look them up their names actually. David Croswitt's now going to be Superman in DCU, and that's going to be really interesting to see. And obviously the girl from the Amazon TV show. I can't remember the one where it's about the female comedian. She's going to play Lois Lane. I think that's going to be really cool and really interesting to see, and hopefully the DCU can live up to the expectations that the DCEU just could not live up to. Hopefully it wins the general audiences back, because let's just put this out of the way now. Superman Legacy is not going to be a massive hit. It's going to be a very slow rebuild. DC's going to have to win a lot of audiences back after the last couple of years. There's a reason why the only big successes that DC has had recently has been the Elseworld stuff, like the Joker movie and the Batman, the one with Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves, because they're standalone movies and not connected to the DCEU. They're their own thing, and overall they're just really good movies. Particularly the Batman. The Batman was just one of the best superhero movies that came out last year, in my opinion. Such a great film. I need to watch that movie again. And yeah, so hopefully this DCU can win everyone back. It's going to be a very slow climb. It's going to be a very slow build. And hopefully that James Gunn and Peter Safran can pull it off. I believe in them. I believe in James Gunn. After the Suicide Squad, I believe in James Gunn wholeheartedly. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as well. I believe in Gunn. I believe in the Gunn. The gun's gonna bring DC back to its former glory. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it for The Flash. If you are considering seeing it, I would recommend it. If there's nothing to watch on Netflix on a Saturday evening, maybe go see The Flash. It is a fun time. It's a fun summer blockbuster. It's got its issues, got its problems, but overall, still a really good time. And that's it for this episode, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is probably going to be one of the more shorter ones, luckily, thank God, because the last two were really, really fucking long. And yeah, so next up is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Again, hopefully that should be up by Wednesday, if not Friday at the latest. And yeah, so until next time, I will see you when I see you next.